Hi, I'm just Bodo, and you can just call me Bodo, and welcome to my money making guide. Now, in this guide, I got a nice breakdown of 5 different methods that majority of people do make their money from. These are also the primary ways of money making that I recommend in Ashes. Also, got like little mini guides to help people later in the video. I'm going to go over this portion first of timestamps below once I do break down to the little mini guides that I created. And I also have reference to other videos as well, and that will be in the description as well. So let's just begin with explaining all the different money making methods that I recommend and are typically the more popular options, and then kind of their pros and cons, as well as how kind of like the descriptor of how they work, how they function in a way in terms of the economy. Why are you getting the materials? Why are these so high value? Where's the gold generation coming from? That way you get like a full complete picture of every single method. So I feel like a lot of people like kind of leave that out, like how's it impacting the economy and stuff like that. So we're gonna go one by one first, and we'll also be breaking down average. Keep in mind uh, profits you can make per hour or per run or per item, the pros and cons, like I said, and further breakdown of each one. So let's begin with glint farming, slash drops slash huntables. Even though huntables could be part of gathering, like Rarity gathering, typically when you're doing hunting, you kind of package it together with some glint farming, unless you're specifically just hunting for like static spawns. But we'll also cover the static spawn style of hunting and gathering as well. But for this type of hunting, think of it more as killing Grems and getting the huntable respawns to proc. Wolves, ravens, even otters are some spots. But what else is very popular? Bears can respawn as huntables as well, stuff like that. Spiders. So let's begin. Glint farming drops and huntables. The type of drops you're pretty much looking for is essence drops. Like if you're killing stuff in the Riverlands, you'll get Riverland essence. You're also looking for emblems. Like for example, if you're in Steel Bloom, you'll get Steel Bloom emblems off of the mobs in there. If you're killing like the Forsaken Highwaymen outside of Steel Bloom, I believe it's the one by the pond is the Forsaken Highwaymen who get Forsaken emblems, stuff like that. Typically, you'll kind of notice that there's a lot of emblems that correspond with certain mobs, and there's also emblems that you'll just get in general from killing stuff in specific regions. So when you tie that all together between farming mobs, getting essences, getting emblems off of them, also getting recipe drops, more particular like food recipe drops are very, very valuable, and also getting the odd huntable, or maybe you're focusing more on clearing out a bunch of Grems to get the huntable procs, which also give you glint as well. And on top of that, when you're waiting for them to fully respawn, you can go to another camp and even if they're just regular mobs, increase your glint per hour. So that's kind of the multiple ways you kind of approach that side. Now, you can start it. Well, before we get into the breakdown, we'll talk about the gold. So gold per hour, you're looking about 1 gold to 10 gold per hour. Now, technically, you can start glint farming like straight from the get go. Straight as soon as you're level 1, you can start killing the same mobs over and over, and you're kind of just naturally glint farming at that point. And getting 1 gold per hour might be very hard. So you're probably looking to get at least level 10 with some adept gear to start like the true first round of glint farming, if that makes sense. Let's break down kind of the pros and cons. Now, pro is it has a low cost entry. Literally, you can do it just by accident from level 1. Any level, gear, or class can do this. There's some classes that are better than others, like fighter. There's some classes that tend to struggle at the very beginning, like ranger, and they need more gear and level appropriate mobs. So, but any level can do it. Any level can do it. Even if you're struggling, you can find level appropriate or mobs that don't do as much damage, and be able to start your glint farming. The better you are, or the more efficient you are, maybe whether it's gear, class, levels, or mobs, typically the more money that you will make, especially if you're trying to mid max, recipe drops and emblem drops from certain mobs, plus the Glinty drop, plus maybe the huntable spawns in and around you. You're mid maxing all that together. It's very reasonable to actually make about 10 gold per hour. Now, you can shoot a lot higher than that. If you're, for example, you get like some heroic or epic uh, honors to drop, and you can go to a tanner and turn that into hides, you're pretty much looking at like, you know, maybe 30 gold per otter, maybe on the high end, 60 gold per otter if you get those high rarity procs, stuff like that. So it can dramatically jump up. So let's talk about some of the cons. Uh, and kind of have low to high competition. You're going to get pushed out of the better, high, more profit areas, or you'll just have people that are just competing in terms of killing them on respawn, and you just don't see any of the mobs anywhere. And it might even be a group of people that are trying to camp that area as well. Some of the massive negatives is high earning spots equals pretty much always camped, and camp doesn't just mean someone's competing. It could literally just be like two or three rogues waiting for you to farm for maybe an hour or two, and then they come by and kill you, which leads into our next negative. If you're a well-known grinder, especially if you have a spot that you like, there's a good chance you're going to get ganked as well, because there are people that actually make profit, make good gold just by going to all the well-known spots and just killing the people that have been grinding it. So gotta be careful with that. That pretty much explains what glint farming, farming drops, and huntables really is. The more efficient an area, the more you're going to make. The more you min max it, the more you're going to make. Pretty much anybody can do it. Any class can really do it. But the more efficient your class is at doing it, the better you're going to have more success in this field. Typically, a lot of fighters do this. There's a lot of rangers that do this. Even me as a cleric, I might not do as much damage as them, because I can heal myself. I can pull like 20 mobs at once and just DPS down a bunch of mobs. So it just depends on how you have it set up. Now, when it comes to the economy and stuff like that, obviously, like we said, recipe drops. That's huge in the economy. You're looking at maybe 50 or 80 gold per recipe drop. In terms of glint, you're converting that into gold, which can feed into buying gear. So it isn't really affected too much by the economy. Uh, Emblems can be affected if like certain stuff are getting oversaturated in the market. For example, steel bloom emblems. On my server, they started at 3 gold. You can drop down to 1 gold. So you're going to get a lot of variety in terms of gold per hour, even if you're out of the gate one of the first people to, let's say, mob farm a certain area. This will be very dynamic in terms of your expected gold outcomes. Let's talk about sports fishing. Sports fishing is also easy. You can literally do it at level one. The nice thing about sports fishing is you don't really need any build up to really do sports fishing at all, besides crafting like a rowboat, maybe getting a mule just to increase your profits per hour. But you can pretty much start bare bones. Start with AFK fishing to get some chum, uh, have a very novice rod that has nothing on it, bare bones, just a starting one, and you can just start making money right out of the gate. Now, the nice thing that I like about sports fishing is that it's very consistent, especially using the lowest and cheapest cost lures. You're looking at about 3 to 6 gold per hour, 6 gold on the high end when you have, more fishing power, higher tier like journeyman rods. You have, fully your tier three mule, and you know exactly where all the lake spawns are. Or let's say you have a boat and you have a crew that goes out and you do sports fishing out in the ocean. So you can do freshwater in the lakes inland, or you can do saltwater, which is out in the ocean. So that's a big plus. Freshwater sports fishing specifically, consistent money, easy to do. Fly lures are the best way to approach it, and you can do it at any level. Now, as you kind of want to increase your profit per hour, saltwater is more attractive. It's about 20 to 30% more gold. Um, and on the super heavy end, like Titanics, it's a lot more gold. but saltwater equals getting flagged because it is in the ocean and you're going to be permaflagged the entire time. That can be kind of an issue. But besides that, it's a low cost to entry, which is very nice. Any level, any gear, any class can do it. The better and more efficient you are at it, the more money it kind of does top out. But now we're going to kind of break into the more of the saltwater side. Like we said, you're going to get flagged. That's one of the negatives. But if you want to make more money, saltwater is the way to go. When you're in saltwater, you will probably stick with fly lures for a long time until you build up a gold base, and then you'll upgrade to like crank or paddle lures, and then it becomes an RNG game. The 3 to 6 gold per hour consistency completely becomes: am I going to go even on the cost of the lure, or am I going to get super lucky and make a bunch of gold? And so your gold per hour can go high, very high actually, if you get super lucky. But currently, as it states, I personally stick with fly lures and I beat out a lot of people. But sometimes people get super lucky, and when the first 3 fish they catch, they made like pretty much 25 gold. So it depends on your luck of the day. You need to learn a mini game. That's kind of another thing too about sport fishing, is that there's a mini game that's associated to it. You have to learn it. It can be kind of struggling for a lot of people, but once you get used to it, once you understand like numlock's a factor, because it uses your arrow keys and your zero key on your numpad. Once you understand how the fish kind of work and how you can like buffer your cast and stuff like that, it becomes very, very quick in terms of catching fish, especially the more levels you have in fishing, and the better gear you have. Ganked in open water is a big factor if you're doing saltwater fishing. For saltwater fishing, you need boats, and boats are 18 gold a pop, and they are expensive because boats can be permanently destroyed. If you see someone chasing you in the saltwater, the only way you can despawn your boat is if you go all the way back to a harbor and then you store your boat. If they catch you out in the ocean, they're going to pop your boat most likely, and you're going to have to rebuild your boat and rebuy your boat. So yeah, so that's sports fishing in a nutshell. Now let's talk about and the economy too with the sports fishing, because I keep forgetting about the economy stuff. It's insular. The money that you get from the fish, you sell that fish to a vendor. It doesn't touch the economy at all until you start buying stuff with the gold that you generate from sports fishing. So the money will always be consistent at a steady rate, and pretty much it's how much time you put in is how much gold you're going to get out. So it's completely isolated from the economy, which is very nice. Gathering high rarity. Now, this is typically like purple and legendary, like hemlock and zinc and copper and stuff like that. Heroic and epic huntables and stuff like that. You're going for the big mega bucks. Now, there's a wide variety. On average, you're looking at like 1 gold to 5 gold per hour, but it's RNG based if you ever done any gathering whatsoever, especially trying to get high rarity procs. This could be 10 gold an hour. It could be 8, it could be 7, it could be 5. It's never going to go that much higher, really, but you can get super lucky. Or if there's like a bug, like maybe there's like a static spawn that keeps respawning over and over and over, and you get legendaries off of that. Nudge nudge, wink wink. Some people were abusing that in previous phases. That's the only time you're gonna get like those super crazy high incomes. And if some dude says like, "Oh, dude, I got like 100 legendaries this one run," either they're duping, something was bugged out and they abused it, or something questionable happened. So don't expect crazy outcomes from trying to just gather high rarity stuff. I think the most crazy I've ever seen is that I've seen someone get like in a 2 hour run, like get like you know 5 legendaries and like 15 epics, and like 10 heroics, and then a bunch of crap. So that's like the craziest I really have seen it. But then again, it depends. It's all RNG. Now, in terms of pros and cons, it's low cost to entry to start, humble beginnings with whites and greens. The better and more efficient you get at it, the more money you'll make. It's kind of similar with a lot of these. But some of the blowback is it takes time to gear up to get to that point of you consistently getting high rarity mats. It takes time to level up as well. You need elixirs and buffs a lot of the time, especially at that super high end. That's the only time I would really use buffs and elixirs. But at that super high end between the spoils and the quality increases, that's really going to help you out as well. Um, Low and high competition, not necessarily they're going to kill you, but just if you have an area you like to farm, or if there's a really good area that's super efficient, there might be people that have already passed through that and mined it all out. So it's good to have like alternate spots. And if you're a well-known grinder, very similar to Glint Farming, you're a well-known grinder and people recognize your name. There are people that just like to go around the map and just go red and kill people if they know they are a well-known grinder and take their mats off of them. So be careful. And in terms of the economy, how gathering affects the economy, um, obviously, high rarity mats that you get from gathering can be used in citizen commodity crates or trade packs or crates, whatever you want to call them. It can be used for crafting bisses as well. It can be used to get like uh, better fishing rods and gear for like AFK fishing and stuff like that, or even glint farming, better gear so you get more efficient at glint farming. So when it comes to demand, the most amount of demand really is in mats and high rarity mats. So if you do want to invest your time, even though it can take time to build up, and it can be costly too with all the elixirs and buff food, especially if you want high rarity stuff. The most amount of in and out, I want to get gold quick. This gathering is the way to go. It's super efficient to make gold this way. Now, obviously, as you can see, this average 1 to 5 gold versus sports fishing or even glint farming. There are other avenues that you can compete when it comes to the gold per hour. But the one boon that you get as being a gatherer, the one that actually gets the high rarity mats, is that you can save up a lot of these mats yourself to really cut down on the cost of crafting your own like best in slot gear that are super high rarity. So instead of spending like 200 gold for an epic, let's say weapon, you may only spend like 50 gold worth plus the mats that you're missing, plus a lot of the mats you already have, and get an epic yourself. So there's a lot of pros and cons when it comes to gathering and how the affects the economy and how it can affect you economically wise as well. But gathering is a very good way of going for a money method. Sports fishing more consistent, good farming, ease of mind. Gathering, very good. Now let's move up to crates or citizen commodity crates or trade packs, whatever nickname you have. Multiple people call them by different things. Now you're kind of looking at 2 gold starting, humble beginnings. Everybody kind of starts there up to 55 gold. There's a lot of things that encapsulate crates and step by step how to do it, guides like that. There's kind of a good guide I have that kind of explains it. I got some nice like screenshots and stuff like that, but you may want to find a alternate video that specifically goes over crates as well because there's different types of crates, but specifically I'm talking about the gold crates. So let's talk about some pros and cons. Low cost entry to start. You start with white and green crates. The better and more efficient you get at it, the more money you will make, especially when it comes to grinding out the materials required to make crates. It takes time to learn the basics. There's a lot to learn when it does come to crates and citizen commodity crates, especially balancing out the rarities so you get like, consistently heroic and epic crates that you can transport. A lot of time in gold investment before the runs and risk as well. I probably should have added risk to this. It takes time to learn how to min max it because even if you know how to run crates, there's a lot of risk involved. Like you can commonly get ganked, like you see right here. And if you're a well known crate runner, you're going to get prioritized most of the time. So there's a lot of risk, and you will not get that gold until you go from one node all the way to another node and trade in those crates in and then you'll get that gold. And anytime between there, you can be ganked just by gathering the high rarity materials. You can be ganked just by transporting the crates as well. But I have like a cheeky method of doing that that I kind of explain in the guide down below. The other thing about crates too, in terms of the economy, um, how it affects the economy or how the economy affects it. Like I said, to create these crates, you're going to need high rarity materials or rarity materials, and then min maxing between the certificate that you use on that crate because you can't go higher than the quality of the certificate. So if it's a green crate, sorry, if it's a green certificate you're using to make your crate, and you put a bunch of purple materials in, well, guess what? It's going to be a green crate no matter what. But if it's a purple certificate with fully purple materials, there'll be a purple crate. Stuff like that. And even me briefly explaining that, even if you know nothing about crates, there's a lot of things about crates. Like I said, I got a little mini guide. We'll cover that later. Plus, I recommend you look up other videos as well. Now let's talk about crafting bisses. Now, when it comes to crafting bisses, um, this is something there isn't really a lot of information. This is typically guild secret stuff. A lot of econ guilds like Vice, this is pretty much what they specialize in. Um, I would say this isn't a very common route of making gold, or especially if you're solo or if you just have a few friends. This isn't a super viable option of approaching the game, mainly because of a lot of the cons towards it. So let's talk about that. You can make 9 gold to 200 gold. There's a Y variance. You can make the big boy money as well per item. But is required to get that, to even be able to get those type of returns? Well, first of all, you have to all in from the early levels, completely dedicated to, hey, we're going to craft bisses. We're going to make sure we target this specific bis. I got a little list down here of examples when we kind of get down to a little mini guide. And you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this, I'm doing this, and that's kind of how it has to start right from the get go. It's a rat race to the gold because typically when we're talking about crafting bisses, we're talking about the launch of a phase, the launch of a server, the launch of the game. That first, like, let's say a week or 2 weeks, whoever can get to crafting bisses right out of the gate, they're going to make the most amount of money. And then after that, within the first month and second month, depending on how hard it is to get crafters up to that level, you'll be able to control the markets and make most of your money within those first 2 months. You'll make a crap ton of money in the first week or two of when people start hitting the ability to craft those bis items and really pump them out. So it's a rat race. It takes time to learn the basics. This is a very complex way of doing stuff. A lot of time in gold investment before you get your returns, and it's way more time in gold investment than running crates. It takes time to learn how to properly min max this. You need multiple people to be able to even do this, and I kind of recommend the smallest is like 3 people, and then you both run alts, all of them run alts, or you need at least 5 people or 6 people. You need lots of organization. Pretty much, you need a spreadsheet, multiple spreadsheets, and a document just laying out who does what. And you need teammates, and also if you have teammates slacking or quitting on you halfway, and let's say they're in charge of the were the specializing in weaving because you need yardage for whatever you're trying to craft, and everybody else is in metalworking and mining. Well, guess what? You're now screwed out of a very key important part of your team for crafting bisses, and you have to replace that guy. Or some guy has to drop what he's doing and then cover that. Or maybe if they're your crafter, if they're the guy that's actually crafting the bisses, he decides to quit the game just because of whatever reason. Now you're down a crafter and you have to spend time and gold to level up a different crafter. Stuff like that. So there's a lot of logistical issues that comes when it comes to crafting bisses. Now, like I said, Vice is a very popular econ guild that does this type of stuff. They have a whole guild committed to crafting multiple different bisses, and this is all they really do. So there are guilds um, that fully contribute to do this stuff. It doesn't just have to be a friend group of like 5 or 6 people. But typically, if you want to mid max your profits per person that's contributing to it, you do kind of want to keep it small but big enough that it's doable. That makes sense. So yeah, I hope this explains. And how does this affect the economy? Before I end this, how does this affect the economy? Very simply, uh, when you craft bisses, you're going to make the most amount of gold out of anybody, especially at the very beginning. You're going to have to equally split your gold between the people that are helping to do this. You probably want the items as well that you're crafting, but that's also part of the planning and organization and being fully all in from the beginning. Is that, hey, we're going to make a bunch of gold, then we're going to leverage our gold to get more high rarity materials and make even more gold. And then once we get to like an appropriate amount of of money and leverage and materials stockpiled, then we can start paying people out, giving people items and stuff like that. So economy wise, you can get the best items for your guild and for yourself. You can get a lot of gold for yourself and your team that's specifically doing the bisses. And you can manipulate the markets. You can buy up the best resources on the markets as well by leveraging the gold. So that's the economic impact as well. So I hope this kind of breaks down the all these methods, all these popular methods, and how they all impact the economy, where the gold comes from, pros and cons, and get a better understanding. Now, the next part of this video, because I see it's been 26 minutes, there'll be timestamps below. You can jump to each mini guide that I have. If you want a better description or see what's involved, I highly recommend you just jump around to the ones that kind of, are what you would prefer to do or you think probably is going to be easier for your time commitment, stuff like that. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this segment of the video. Let me down in the comments down below what do you think of this chart in this segment, if you appreciated it or liked it, because there's a few different ways I could have done this, but I think this was probably the best way I could really lay this stuff out. Now let's move on to the guide section. Now we're going to start with Glint Farming. It's pretty straightforward. Find a good location with mob density or desirable huntables or the odd rare gatherable to min max. Uh, have high, you know, have higher leveled monsters will typically lead to more glint. So let's say you're level 7, and you're grinding out other mobs that are level 7. You're probably going to get 3 white glint or 4 white glint. But if you're farming a level 15 mob, and let's say you're like level 15 as well, the level difference range doesn't really matter at all. But if you're farming level 15 mobs, you might get 6 or 8 white glint. So the higher level mobs typically have more glint. It's very easy to track and follow. Having one or more stars, you're always going to get more glint out of mobs that have more stars. Higher HP sometimes leads to more glint or better drops. For sure, it gives you more EXP because EXP is kind of based off of HP in a lot of ways. But in terms of more glint, sometimes it can lead to that. Name bombs in particular, like bosses, have like pretty much a glint multiplier on them for whatever level and star level they're at. And it's pretty much like a 5x or an 8x. Plus, they also have like special drops. So um, if there is an area and you can solo a named monster or a boss, it's more glint. You get maybe some crafting materials out of them, maybe a recipe drop, maybe you get lucky and you get a full item drop, but that's going to really help bump up your glint farming as well. Biggest tip is make your glint make your glint farm easy with lots of mobs, because how I kind of visualize them is that they're kind of like a lotto machine. So the more mobs you can kind of AoE down and just farm en masse, the more spins of that slot machine you're going to get. So like pulling 20 crabs, for example, which is like what I do as a cleric, that are 1 star at level 16. I get lots of glint. I get lots of emblems, the odd recipes and stuff like that, just because the more mobs that you're consistently beating down, the more spins of that slot machine you're going to get. So having multiple locations that you can farm reliably with some obscure locations in your back pocket is very good because a lot of the general population will kind of gradually go towards the better EXP per hour locations or even uh, bu- 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 um, glint per hour locations or specific drops, like let's say otters or steel bloom emblems and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different ways that a spot could be considered like very popular and where most people will just generally graduate towards too. So trying to find a location that is very obscure, maybe going to the Jundark or going to the Anvils where it's not very popular in those regions, having a backup is just very, very good to maintain at least some um, steady gold XP per hour. Because let's say you are playing during prime time, there's a very good chance these spots are going to be camped, or someone's already farming it, or people are looking to maybe gank someone and take whatever they've been farming already. So no, during prime time, it's actually a lot smarter to like give up some of these locations to go to a more obscure place, which is very important. Which is why I'm kind of overemphasizing it. Yeah, general little guide, pretty self-explanatory. Uh, in the first section here, where I kind of explained it, I pretty much you know what to do. In terms of spots I would recommend, I'm not going to show you spots that I'd recommend because my own guildies would be mad at me. People that I know the spots from other people will be mad at me. So like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Just you'll find them. You'll find them, especially if you're part of a guild. They'll help you out. Now let's talk about sports fishing. Sports fishing, you need chum. So you're going to start with AFK fishing to get some chum. And you can do that at the novice level. You just take 50 fish to get the freshwater chum, or you need 99 fish to make saltwater chum. And you do that at a cooking station under the food tab. You're only going to get a rowboat next. You have to get a rowboat if you want to do sports fishing. And it's any 50 wood, and you can turn it into a rowboat at a carpentry station, which is also novice level. And I believe it's under like the components tab or section. I need to get lures from either a cookhouse that a node has built or developed in one of their plots, or from a harbor from the sports fishing vendor, and you can get fly lures. And actually, right here, I am in GT. I'm just AK fishing. Uh, this is what it will look like when you see all the different lures. I know I was kind of explaining them before, but this is a sports fishing vendor, and typically I get the fly lures, but crank lures and paddle tail lures are like the two other lures you would use, but specifically in the saltwater and specifically if you want to gamble. Fly lures is the most consistent, if you remember from the beginning of this video. Let me park myself back. Yes, fish. That's right. All right. Find a freshwater spot from lakes in inland or saltwater spots in the ocean. I'll also quickly kind of show you that. So right now I'm in the Anvil, and there's a couple spots that you can get freshwater fish from. There's this spot right here. There's this spot right here. Can you see my cursor? Yes, you can. This spot right here. 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 And pretty much, I'll start off in KT in the very beginning of the morning. I'll go down to this spot near the bears. I go to the Twin Lake. That's what we like to call it. Then I'll visit the Dunehold Lake. Then I'll just pad across and go to the PvP lake, and then I'll go across and I'll go to like the KT lake. That's pretty much what I call the Southeast KT lake. And that's kind of my route. I'll just go in a circle, and then eventually I'll find a spot. When it comes to fishing out in the ocean, you're going to get a boat, or if you're doing it the poor man's method, the budget method, get a manatee. And you're going to go out into the ocean. If you have the boat, you'll have the radar, which you have to actually craft first and then equip to your boat. But you'll find the fish through your radar ping, and then you'll go to the fishing spot and just fish. If you don't have a boat and you're doing the manatee method, you're going to have to find the spots just based off of RNG or beg someone to join their party. But yeah, Uh, Eventually, you want to get a mule, a T3 mule. I highly recommend, but if you get the T2, which is the Moonstrider, humble beginnings, you're going to carry the same capacity of fish. You're just going to be slightly slower than the T3 by 25%. The more efficient you are at sports fishing, the more gold per hour you will bring in. Sports fishing power, which directly affects how fast you catch the fish, how much damage you do towards it throughout the mini game, can only be increased by three things. One is the tier of your rod, so like novice or journeyman. Even if you increase the quality of, let's say, your journeyman rod, uh, the fishing power won't actually increase whatsoever. It is tier locked. So novice will be like, I think it's 100 or 125. Journeyman is 200. The lure that you pick, so I'm using fly lures. They only have 5 power, but if you get the more expensive ones, you have more power as well. That doesn't really matter. You don't have the power from the lures really don't matter whatsoever. Mainly your fishing level, which you increase by doing AFK fishing, greatly affects your fishing power massively. And right now, my ups do about over 1,000 damage. With the fly lures, it's like 1,015 or something like that a tick. And my downs do about 540 damage a tick. So when you're first starting out, that's pretty much what you're going to scale up to. I also have a guide here I'll put in the description below that I recommend people to also watch because it will explain the mini game, which obviously I don't explain in this video, and it will also show the mini game too and give you some nice tips and tricks. Also, I find too when it comes to sports fishing, this guy kind of covers the more riverland side of it. I'm in the anvils, so you'll kind of see the spots naturally through this video as well. So you'll get even more information. Now let's move on to gathering. High rarity gathering. You want to pick one style to just all in. So mining, wood cutting, fishing, herbalism, hunting. I think that's all of them, right? Am I missing one? Nope. Pick a style to all in. And I recommend mining or lumberjacking because mining you'll make the most amount of profit and you can manipulate your high rarity granite and also your high rarity basalt and other rock as well. And you can grind them down into sand and get the equivalent rarity ores out of it, like copper, zinc, stuff like that. You can double dip essentially. Lumberjacking is the second best one because I find you always need boards, you always need dried boards when it comes to crafting a lot of really good items. Uh, Progress as much as you can uh, pretty much with humble beginnings. You're looking to make very cheap upgrades for your tools and your gear, and you're really just trying to get to the highest gathering level that you can get to. So right now it is Journeyman, which is level 20. So really, you don't want to invest too much into your setup until you get to level 20. At your highest gathering level, which currently is level 20, you want to all in on your tools, your gear, and even your buffs. This is when you want to start using like things like elixirs and buff food to help maximize your ability to get high rarity mats. You want to streamline a gathering route that isn't popular to your server or the general population, and also based on their play time too. So if you're playing during prime time, let's say you're in the Riverlands and you're trying to go up and down the mountains near Halcyon and Joeva. If you want to go across that, cut across and go through the tree line in the big hill, come all the way back down and make that kind of loop. You may find a lot of the nodes there will be missing because people are just naturally getting on. They're starting to farm out that area. It may also be the same spot that they'd like to farm. Maybe half of your route they'd like to farm that spot. So because of that, having places like in the anvils that no one's going to be, or in the Jundark that no one's going to be, or even in the desert that no one's going to be, will help increase your consistency for your goal per hour, depending on just player movement and stuff like that. Processing, yep, hop time. Processing can help you make a lot more money if you make high end demand components at the right rarity level, like heroic or purple willow boards or braid boards and stuff like that. That is a lot harder to find. Like most people kind of lean into mining, lead into metalworking. There's a lot of people that like to lean into herbalism and lead into weaving. There's a lot of people like to lean into lumberjacking, lean into milling. But I find when it comes to what is like the one few things when people are trying to craft an item, even if they have like a guildie that's going to help them craft it, what's the one thing they're kind of always like, ugh, I need to look at the market to see if I can buy? It's always very high rarity, like heroic, purple, legendary boards, or not typically zinc plates, because I find most people prefer the mining methods. You're going to find a lot more people that can help you process that stuff, but like yardage too from weaving, that's a big one. Um, some alchemy stuff. So depending on what you do and what your discipline is, study your markets. Understand you can make a lot more money, um, and probably have more people willing to buy your stuff if you do craft your stuff into components. So it saves a lot of processing time too. Once you get to like journeyman processing, uh, eh, I mean, you could be waiting 2 hours just to craft a bow, just from trying to process all that wood. You know what I mean? Like it having stuff already processed and selling it, you can sell it to a higher price just because you're cutting down on a lot of processing time, especially if it's high rarity. Trade packs. Get node bucks from trade packs. When I mean trade packs, I'm talking about the crates and citizen commodity crates. I call them trade packs, so that's just my lingo. I know I got like three different names, so I apologize if you're kind of confused. Trade packs, you want to get node bucks, and node bucks are called celerity or salinity, some weird name. I don't know why. Like some, they're node bucks. We've always called them node bucks. Like, well, what are you doing, Intrepid? Like a bunch of weirdos. Um, So no bucks from completing buy orders or mayoral commissions or settlement crates. So a lot of this stuff, which I can show you right now, depending on where you are, my food buff's about to run out. Where's my citizenship? When you're a citizen, they will have active buy orders that you can turn in certain ingredients to get exchange node bucks. Now, I believe most of them are going to be 5 node bucks actually. Some of them will be 10 node bucks in terms of payouts. That's kind of like the two options that you typically see. I have seen people drop it down to like a 1 node buck payout for buy orders, but typically if you're looking for buy orders, I would go the sorry. If you're typically looking for node bucks, I would go straight for buy orders. Buy orders is the best way and most efficient way to really do it. Maryland commissions just take too long. All right. Buy orders. Yeah, I got an example right here. Farm materially, usually 5 fish. Uh, as you can see, I'm just going to read this off right here. Farm materials, usually 5 fish or carcass, as you can see right here. 12 wood or herbs, as you can see right here. Or 12 ores or rocks or gems, as you can see right here. Which can be mixed and matched. So you could have like, let's say, 5 purple granite with like 5 purple basalt and 2 heroic gems in here, and you can mix and match and to balance out what rarity you're trying to get for your crate. You want mix and match whatever you want, and similar to crafting, which I didn't put an F in there. It will affect the rarity of the crate, including the certificates. The big thing that I've note already is that your certificate, whatever rarity that is, that's the highest you can make it. So if you're trying to make a epic crate, you need to have bare minimum an epic certificate. But what most people do is that they'll use a legendary certificate, so it will help pull up the rarity of whatever that crate's going to be, depending on what materials you put into it. So once you have all these mats, you got your node bucks. got everything. What do we do? Now you have to go to a citizen commodity vendor. If you're doing the gold method, if you're doing the gold method, that's you make the crate, you bring it from one node to the next node, and you get gold out of it. It has to be the citizen commodity vendor to get your certificates, and then from the citizen commodity member, usually you'll find the citizen commodity station, which unfortunately gets cut off right here, but that's what it's called, to craft your crate. Rarity of your crate is balanced between all four components, like I've already talked about. So be careful when you're trying to make a certain rarity level. Eventually, getting a mule from a market or someone that's selling them, preferably T2s, which are the Moonstriders, or T3 Bighorns. That way, you can bring more than one crate. And on top of that, if you're using a crate on a regular mount, you're going to move super slow. If you use it specifically on one of the mules, uh, you'll move a heck of a lot faster. You want to buy two crates and put it on your mule, and then you will carry one, then mount up, travel to another node. The farther, the more gold you'll earn to another citizen commodity vendor, which is the same guy you got your certificates from, to trade in those crates. Keep in mind, the more popular the route, which is like node to node, the more the turn in will actually start to go down. There's some behind the scenes system that calculates a certain amount of crate turns into a specific node, and then the payout will be less and less and less. So if you're going from like KT to Athanar, instead of going all the way to Athanar, you may actually get the same payout, just going one node less. So let's say Mirrorlith, which is just above Athanar, you may get the same turnout for your crates, which saves a lot more time, makes it a lot more convenient and stuff like that. Then eventually over time, the uh, the turn in price in Athanar will eventually go back up the more people stop using that route or turn in general at that node. You can get ganked if you do. Sorry, I'm trying to say two things here. You can get ganked, so you gotta be careful of that. And if you DC with your crates, they will drop to the ground or they will disappear depending on what causes the crash. Um, in my oh, there's Poppy. Um, in my case, I'm playing from the East Coast. A lot of us East Coasters have an issue connecting to the to the Intrepid servers. I'm on the Shoal server, and one of the big issues that we have is that even if we crash, regardless of what the crash is, there's like a 50-50 chance that our crates will not just drop, so as to simply log in and pick up, or other people to pick up. They will just completely disappear. So depending on your location, your connection quality, your routing quality to the whatever server you're playing on, you can end up getting the same issue of, oh, I DC'd, I log back in, my crates aren't there. It's not just because people snagged them and stole them and got off with them. It's because they've actually completely DC'd themselves. The biggest tip is never bring more than one high rarity trade pack, and always make sure you're carrying the actual high rarity trade pack. So let's say it's a purple on you and not on your mule, because the common tactic is that people will flag up and kill your mule, and then they'll have two or three other buds quickly go and snatch your crates. You will not be flagged, and they'll just be on their merry way. I think that's going to be there's going to be a change in the future, which if you pick up the crates and it's not yours, you will be flagged. I believe that's coming in the future. I believe that's on the PTR too. So hopefully that will change in the future, because that's a very common method of taking crates. But even still, people are still willing to get the potential gold value out of it. So even when they do make that change, I could see a lot of people just full killing everybody, saying screw it, we're just going to kill everybody, and we'll take the crates and do our best to finagle the system, which whatever will be the new way of doing it. So yeah, and a lot of times too, currently right now, um, they'll kill your mule, they'll take your crates, they'll see that they're greens, and they'll be like, okay, well, at least we'll get some out of it. And they won't be the wiser. They'll just assume the one you're carrying is a green crate as well. So Currently, right now, that's the cheeky method of doing it. And finally, crafting bisses. All right. So when it comes to crafting bisses, there isn't a lot of information on how to actually do this. A lot of the information I have is based off of how I've seen it done in other games, how I've done it in games like Eve Online, even what I've done just chit chatting, talking to people from other guilds, especially because I do a lot of YouTube stuff. I end up talking to a lot of other people. Um, so I've kind of reverse engineered science breakdown probably the most efficient way of doing crafting bisses. Now, I don't know all the information. Now, if you're someone like from Vice, who's very popular at doing this method, and you want to comment down below, I'm willing to pin your comment. Maybe if you get the green light from like Thunder or Tango, or if Tango, if you're watching this, you want to comment down below, maybe give people like a quick step by step, maybe not really revealing the sauce, but giving people a blueprint. That would be nice. I do have my own version of this, so I'm going to attempt this right now. When it comes to crafting bis, you like I've said before previously in the beginning of the video, you need to pick a specific blueprint with three at minimum. And if you have three people, you typically want to have like two accounts per person, or more people, like five or six. And then you're going to target a best in slot. So you see, we have two great maces. You can make both of these because it's also weaponsmithing. So you can kind of double dip in more than one bis. You have the grave plate, which is heavy armor. You have rosarium, which is heavy armor. You can double dip in that. Um, Blue Morden's light armor, so you can't really do Blue Morden and heavy weapon at this and weaponsmithing at the same time. Really, if you're in the rat race, you're trying to be the server first. Typically, if you have a guild, you probably may have a different team that's doing the rat race for Blue Morden. And then also, the Night Reaver Greatsword, because it's weaponsmithing. You can also do it with the Great Maces. Thorn Strike Shortbow is a tier 3. It's very hard to craft. So if you're trying to go after a lot of the Thorn Strikes and you're trying to farm out those emblems and recipes specifically, that's another way of doing it. It just depends on the either the specific tier level and the requirements that you need to craft them versus the discipline required to craft them, like armor smithing, weaponsmithing, or even how quickly and probably preferably how popular the item is. Like you're always seeing laurel-bound great maces being sold all the time. It's a very popular item. Same thing, Rosarium, very, very popular item. Blueborn is popular, but it's kind of on the down low, and Grave Plate is very popular too. So going the popularity route, you'll make a lot more money too. So like Thorn Strike shortbows, not everybody wants a Thorn Strike shortbow, but it's so desirable for so many people that people are willing to pay out of their nose to get this, even at a heroic level. So there's a lot of ways you can approach it in terms of what you're trying to target. Now, you want to cover all the gathering and processing and crafting that you need for your specific group. You want to min max your production. So you may have more people focused on mining, maybe one person focusing on herbalism and getting his weaving up, stuff like that. You want to try and get your recipes, your required drops like emblems or essences. You may even have one person that's dedicated to farming up the essence. Then maybe as a group, you go farm out emblems, stuff like that, and recipes. You want to mid max all your buffs when it comes to crafting. So even if you're not mid maxing your gathering, for example, when it comes to processing, you want to try and get as many rock ups with rarities that you can possibly get. And even when you're finally crafting the end item, you want to try and craft as many items jam packed together so that it makes more sense to use all your buffs and be able to get as many proc ups as possible. Or rarity. When I mean proc ups, I mean rarity jumps. And then you want to sell your first few items before everybody else to maximize your early profits. You want to take that money, rebuy really expensive mats, and then try and pump out even more to get even more money. And then you can leverage that money and have kind of like a production chest. You can take some of the rest of the money and pay off everybody that's been contributing. Or you can take some of that money and, let's say, invest in making specific high rarity bisses for either your guild, for the people that are contributing towards it. Maybe give it a guild discounted price and stuff like that. Internally, have your own like trading inside the guild. However you want to do it, however you divvy it up. But yeah, that's kind of the basics to it. I hope this helps you out. I hope you like this guide video. I know these are kind of like mini guides. Hopefully, gives you a better understanding of what it takes for each different discipline. But yeah, if you have questions, let me down. Let me know in the comments down below. If I got something a little bit wrong or forgot to mention something, let me know in the comments down below. But I do recommend don't just watch this video. If you're really interested in, let's say, sports fishing or trade packs, which is the citizen commodity crates, then look up other guides, learn more about it, try practice it in game. But these are some of the best ways for you to make gold. This is the pretty much the most popular options that most people for making money, whichever method you choose. These are the more popular ones that people typically go with. And there's reasons why. Various different difficulties, various different payouts. Some are more consistent, some are more long-term investment. It depends on whatever wait time and risk you're willing to take. So yeah, thank you for watching the video and have a nice day.